So this is how I spent my 4-day trip in Quebec City. What's up everybody, this is Willie and welcome to, I guess, a new series I'm gonna start because why not? It's gonna be like a story time where I'm gonna talk about my past experience on like trips or like adventures I've gone on that I want to share with you all. I'm gonna go on another setting because honestly the other place I was trying to record at is occupied right now. So sorry for the audio if it's not that good because it's echoing. I want to start with a very notable adventure, which is my trip in Quebec City. So here we're just talking about a 12-year-old me going on a 4-day adventure in Quebec, which was also necessitated by the fact that it was a middle school trip that I went on. I had to pay a lot for it as well, so it was definitely an interesting aspect to it. And I wanted to share the story of how it started to how it ended. So let's buckle up and get ready. So on day one, everyone who paid for the trip are required to arrive at the middle school grounds like early at 6:30 in the morning. Wow. And obviously we did hear the unfortunate story that one previous student missed the trip because he slept past his alarm clock. So that was kind of really the biggest fear for me of whether that was going to happen to me, which thank to the Lord that it didn't. And I was able to set as much alarm as I can around my entire house just so I can ensure that I would make it on time for the trip because the buses were going to be departing soon. And also, I decided to bring along one of my parents as well because I wanted them to enjoy an adventure in Quebec as well. There's one thing I want to talk about is the fact that I decided not to bring my phone along for the trip, which surprised because normally people who like going on trips would want their phone with them to, just scroll on social media and stuff. I didn't even bring it. I mean, in retrospect, it's a good way to now avoid the screen time and actually start enjoying the adventure more in outgoing lens, not just be so fixated on the phone times. But at the same time, that means I wasn't able to capture much images of my adventure too to cherish the memory. So that's why there's not going to be any footage I could provide to you because I don't have it. Anyways, now that we finally find our seats on the bus, which is a nice coach bus as well, it's going to be like a 9-hour trip from where my middle school's at to Quebec City. So we're definitely in for a long ride here. So then the bus starts traveling on the main highway that leads to Quebec, and we drive for like a couple hours before we make a pit stop at one of those places where there's a food court available. And as hungry of a soul I am, I just wanted to have some breakfast, so I purchased some Tim Hortons grilled cheese sandwiches. Oh my god, that was like delicious. But anyways, now that we just continue the trip for the next several hours until we finally make it to Quebec. And when we were crossing the borders from where I'm at to the province of Quebec, the person who was administering us was kind of trying to play a little funny jokes like, hey, did you bring your passports? Like, we're only crossing the border of a province, not a country. Like, seriously? You kind of made some students panic there too, no offense. I know it's a joke, but seriously, come up with something better. Anyways, we cross over this bridge, which I guess people were kind of fearful of it when we were crossing it because maybe the final destination got to their minds, I don't know. But anyways, we crossed over the bridge and made our way to the hotel that we are staying at. And it was a nice hotel too. I went to research what the hotel's name is, and it's called Hotel Le Concours. Anyways, by the time we're settling themselves, it's already hitting the evening, so day one and majority of that time was spent on making our way to the city. But hey, at least we can have some time for dinner, considering our time in Quebec, we're going to many buffets. I just love buffets. So for our night, we have to make our way to the buffet place, which was a really long walk, and especially since this took place in winters, so everything was kind of like cold, and it got windy too, where the wind really blew me and I just slipped on the ice like this. But anyways, after this long walk and just like traveling and learning some monuments, that's cool, we finally reached the buffet, and what do you know, it's just spaghetti and pizza, which I think the spaghetti sauce was actually really good. Like, for me, I'm not someone who's the biggest fan of spaghetti, like mainly because the sauce are not really like the best, but this one I feel like it was very tender and had some flavor to it than what I've tasted before. So kudos to these chefs who made this kind of spaghetti. But pizza was good as well, and my parents had a nice time communicating with fellow students, so it was nice to see them bond with my peers as well. Anyways, that's pretty much it, and then we make our way back to the hotel and just spend the night on day one. Okay, so now it's day 2, and I get to wake up from the morning call from the answer machine, and now we make our way to the lobby so we can go on our next adventure. Our first trip is supposed to have a breakfast buffet, and okay, it might seem a little fussy, but the breakfast buffets that I've had there were just kind of tame, I guess. I mean, it's just the generic, sausages that were not even breakfast made. It was the hot dog sausages alongside some like pancakes, yogurt, stuff like that, salad, like not really much interest in me, but oh well, I still enjoy them. But anyways, now we travel our way to this location where we go inside this like theater like building where we start to learn some history, and it was interesting how they presented it too, where these action figures were like highlight, where they would illuminate at certain points to correlate with the scene that they're showing us, which is really cool. But we make it to this little intersection where we can go anywhere, like shops or anything, and me and my parents just went into this nice shop where I just really liked the stuff there. There was like Bean Boozled candy that I wish I got because I never tried a challenge before, but either way. And then there was a nice little shirt there too, had some nice graphics design too, which is why I'm always interested in art. For lunch, there was a McDonald's, and you know what? Bacon Big Mac was something on the menu. I decided, why not give it a try? So I went to order it and I just ate it, and it was just really good. But also, one thing I forgot to talk about is how cool this McDonald's was, where there were 3 stories, not just one. So that adds a lot of uniqueness with the structure of this particular fast food chain. After this part was done, we make our way back to the hotel so we can wait for the coach bus to be ready to pick us up and drive us somewhere. And that place is like some place in a forest where we learn about maple syrup, because that's the Canadian thing, alright? I was just more so interested on like the decorations they had, which was really cool. And before I continue on, I want to quickly show you this piece of souvenir that I got from the shop there, and it's pretty cute. It's obviously a bear, but the cool feature is that it's a refrigerator magnet, so I can just put it on my fridge, and that way it'll be like my travel souvenir to cherish my experience in Quebec. But either way, that was just it for day 2, which was just alright, but definitely the following day is definitely going to be a lot to talk about, because there's gonna be some tension to talk about. Okay, so I had to actually make a quick interruption here, but while I was editing, I realized another place that we visited that I forgot to mention, and it's the fact that we went to a Martello Tower, which is one of these things on the picture right here, and we basically played a scavenger hunt activity in there. So that's pretty much it from what I can recall from my time there. So now on to day 3, which starts off with us taking the coach bus pretty far to an isolated area near the highway, where we first make our stop at some museum, which, I'll be honest, was pretty tad boring. I didn't really think the monuments impacted me as much, but oh well, it's still something to at least explore, and I did partially like walking around and seeing what's there. Then make our way on foot to this really high bridge that we did see on our way from the highway, and we actually walked on it, and it was a very cool view. But then we make our way to our next activity, and that is sledding. And I actually think it was a really fun one too, because 5 lanes where people can sled at the same time. So there was definitely some like competition aspect to it too. So when it came to my turn on my first round, I really liked it, and it was just fun when I was just standing down like this, like it was worth the fun. But then for my second round, I was wearing some kind of hat where you have to strap it on your chin, and because I didn't strap it on my chin before I went down the slope, once I went down, the thing like flew off my head, and I tried to catch it, but the reflex wasn't that quick, so instead I would accidentally slam my hand onto the median, which was slightly painful, but didn't hurt me too much. But I say don't do what I did if you lose something, because you don't want to hurt yourself by trying to retrieve something that the staff could just do for you. No worries, because the staff saw it and were able to go down and grab my hand and return it to me. And you know what? I might as well just do a proper demonstration for you. I'll just get a wall hat to show an example of this. Here's a wall hat. So this is what happens. I'm going down the hill and then it flies off like this. Like that, seriously. And I'm just like trying to like grab like boom. Well, after that short ordeal, it's lunchtime and we make our way to the same intersection from the previous day. And so I decide to have McDonald's again, but this time a regular Big Mac. But I wanted to mention one funny thing is because at the time I wasn't a big fan of pickles. And since my parent was also eating a Big Mac too, and when they left for the washroom, I decided to grab my pickles and put it inside their burger. And some guy just saw me and just laughed because I guess that's how vicious I am. Spent our days pretty much just walking around, exploring around Quebec City a bit, and it was just cool and all. But then our final stop would be taking the coach bus and making our way to this place where there's a ice hotel located. What? Yeah, I can't believe it. It was actually really cool, and it was everything made of ice that looked like what a hotel could be. Seriously, there was like an ice bed. There was even a slide I went down on. It was pretty cool. I definitely had the joy of my life in exploring that ice hotel, and that's definitely one that is very notable to me. And honestly, I think that was a great final stop for our time in Quebec, considering how much we've been really exploring different sorts of things. And I feel like this one was definitely the coolest of the bunch, so that was definitely nice. With that, it's the final day, which is definitely just departure day, I should just call it. So we make our way back home. So we pack all of our stuff, get on our coach bus. The driver makes her way back the same route to return home. Because you know it's going to be a long trip, we were going to make a pit stop, but this time to a buffet place. This time it was actually much better than the previous places that we went to, where there was some nice food. There was like bacon. Haven't had that in a while. There was also some cheese. There was actually this grill that you could use to try and make yourself something. So I tried to make some grilled cheese and I kind of burned the bun. That's on me. I'm absolutely the worst. But anyways, we just make our way home. That ends my time in Quebec. I still think this was a very remarkable trip to go on, and I'm appreciated that my middle school went on it, which was actually a tradition they've been doing every second year. So it was sweet to take this opportunity to go somewhere and have a trip of a lifetime. Honestly, I would rate this trip at least a 7 out of 10 because I really loved most aspects of just exploring some places, going here to there, looking at some cool stuff, maple syrup, ice hotel, some history action figures. They were definitely remarkable, but the only cons I can say for sure is the fact that we would constantly have some points where we were meandering about, just walking around constantly, like walking around the scope of the city, which does get a bit tad lame, and it just started tiring me out. And some of my peers even mentioned like lame aspects to this trip with the constant walking we had to do. So that's definitely something that I think if I were to like give some feedback to my teachers who went on the trip, I definitely think you need to work on something where you would not make it as a constant trend, because some students are not gonna enjoy this kind of aspect. But oh well. Would I recommend going to Quebec? Definitely. If you're also interested in like learning French, Quebec City is definitely one that taught me that they were always French based, so that's why I had to learn a lot with communicating in a different language. And because I was obviously learning French since elementary school, I had some knowledge of how to communicate with them too. That was all my takeaways from this trip, and I want to say thanks to each and every one of you to listen to this nice little fun story about my time in Quebec and seeing how interesting of a place it was. If any of my middle school teachers or anyone who went on the trip watches this video, I hope you also enjoyed your adventure too, because let's face it, if it's really worth spending a big amount of money to just go to some place like that with a lot of cool things to explore, then I would definitely say you should feel the gratitude that you got to have that experience. With that, I appreciate you all tuning in, and I will see each and every one of you in my next video. So thank you very much.